Let's take a look at our latest draft, which is likely to be our final version. Um, at our last meeting, we talked about moving some things around, and I'd like to take a look at those. On the first floor, I've added in this closet here. This elevation view shows the impact on the stairwell that it goes into. That yellow line is the code requirement for above the stairwell at 6'8". So you can see that that closet would be just 18 inches above the floor, and I put a 6-foot door in there. You're going to want to work out the details as far as what door you're looking to get. You're likely going to have something custom fitted. Back in our plan view, I want to point something out. There's these half moon shapes in front of where the basement windows are, and I think it's important to install a slightly larger window in the basement to get the maximum amount of daylight and fresh air into the basement. But in order to do that, you either need window wells similar to the egress ones in the bedrooms, but on a smaller scale, or you need to raise the foundation out of the ground, which kind of may not be the best option for several reasons. But if the window wells are something that you're against, and you're not really comfortable with, let me know, and I can come up with an alternate design where just more of the foundation would be sticking up out of the ground. Moving to the kitchen corner of the home, I ended up stacking up the washer and dryer just to kind of illustrate what that would look like. I shuffled some windows around. I put an 8x16 deck on this back corner, and I moved the kitchen layer out around a little bit and put a smaller window in here to kind of accommodate that. I'm still not real crazy about where the stove is. That's something that can be worked out in the future. You could always move the stove over to this side of the kitchen, with a nice hood coming down out of the ceiling. It would impact your seating space over here slightly. You likely would want to put a half wall up along the back side of the cabinets and create a separate counter space for this portion here. But there's a lot of different options, none of which are going to have that great of an impact at this point. Everything else is pretty much the same. I did add a small landing over here coming into the door, which is required. And the size of the home changed slightly. You actually picked up 6 inches in the width after I went out and took the field measurements. Let's take a look at the first floor here. I can kind of illustrate some of those areas that we talked about. And by the way, there really isn't a great option in the program as of yet for window wells. I put these here so you can kind of get a sense of it. Some of the window is going to kind of stick up over the top of it, but not all of it. So that would be your traditional window well that you'd see. They make a plastic and a galvanized steel. I also adjusted the kitchen cabinets so they were a little closer to what you were looking for, and changed the appliances to stainless steel. A better idea of the deck on the back here, which is going to add a nice outdoor space where you can have a nice meal, and it's a convenient place to put your grill without having to go up and down the stairs. Take a peek at that stacked washer and dryer over here in the corner, which is going to give you, I think, a little bit better flow in that room if you decide to do that. Everything else is as it was in the last version. And I just want to make note that this basement window to the living space below couldn't be centered with this one because this actually is a closet in the basement level. I also wanted to talk to you about considering adding a second window, like a double window over here, or one shortly to the side of this one in the living room. It feels like there's something missing in that large living room to not have another window here. Here we have the basement level. Not much really has changed here. I did add in the sink, which falls relatively close to where that window is going to be. Actually, I take that back, where that window formerly was, that window was eliminated because of the deck that's above. There isn't much point in putting a window out to the underside of a deck. This is going to be shuffled around anyway, but the important part is that it does exist in the print. It may be possible to tuck that over closer to this area here, which would be ideal. I did add in this wall here that extends on the side of the stairwell with doors on either end to close off this storage space, which will kind of separate the mechanical components from the living space, give it more of a feel of traditional living space on this side, and also will allow, if you choose to zone this separately in the heating system so that you're not heating this up to 67 or 70 degrees when you don't need to. Let's take a look at this basement level overview. I would also like to note here before we move on to the outside renderings that we, in our last visit, kicked over this wall a few feet, which kind of overtook the table that was kind of stuck half in the wall. Not as much furniture is going to fit in this space as it previously did, so just kind of take that into consideration. I think one of these chairs is certainly going to have to go, and something is going to have to be done. Maybe a sectional would be more appropriate. So from the outside, it is very similar to the way that it was before. We can kind of see our window wells here again.